yesterday I was texting with a mutual friend, a gentleman named Rich Redmond, who best known as
Yeah,
the drummer for Jason Aldean, but also played with you on the album by The Fell, a side project you guys had a few years back.
yeah.
And so I asked him about you and what makes him enjoy playing with you so much, and he talked about you that you have a very unique style, and he said his tone sounds like a giant church organ, which I thought was a fabulous description because
Great.
it's like, oh no, that really kind of does capture that. And I'm wondering though, you know, the evolution of your tone, of your sound, how much of it was it just kind of stumbled into it, and how much of it was I have this in my head and I'm going to go find it.
A little of both, as you might expect the answer to be. My goal was always to hear the notes. I want to hear what the notes are because the notes make up the music, and if the notes have a tone that you can hear what the note is. I've seen bands recently, and I couldn't discern a single bass note from the bass player. Sadly, I heard
Mm.
there's a rumble going on in a big room, in an auditorium, whatever, but I can't hear him playing. Bass is tough to reproduce live in the first place because in a big room, a lot of variables. But so I started to do a thing with splitting a signal
Hmm.
so I can the bass and the higher frequencies can be isolated and you can balance them out so you can really hear what that note is. But
Mm.
we don't want to lose that low end because normally the low end does muddy things up. Uh, but you can't lose the low end because that's the essence of what you're doing. That's the
Yeah.
basis of the instrument. So by separating them out, I'm hearing the note, but I'm not losing that low end. And it was a double. My basses have two outputs, one
Oh.
of the super deep low pickup and one of a normal pickup. And so that helps a lot. I started doing that back in the very early 70s. And
Mm.
since then, and I got involved in a lot of pro audio stuff as opposed to just guitar or bass amps. I eventually had racks of gear. And we even had racks before Anvil made them. There were Bud racks, which were used in radio stations. Nobody
Oh.
had racks live at
Yeah.
all in the early 70s. So eventually that came to be a thing for guitarists and other musicians as well. They have all their gear in a rack because it's all pro audio gear. So it was pretty finely tuned for the most part. I spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, a lot of education,
Mm.
uh, educating myself into understanding musical instrument electronics and the reproduction of a sound from fingers, strings, pickup, chord, uh, preamps and amps, speakers. So I got to be pretty good, if I do say so myself, at troubleshooting sonic situations. And
Hmm.
so it eventually came out to a point where it's a unique tone. Probably not, I know it's not everybody's cup of tea at all, but I do also often play just direct and straight up, just a regular bass, one output right into an Avalon or a Neve preamp and a
Hmm.
proper pro audio compression or EQ. I've done a lot of records like that too. So, but you can still kind of hear that sound. So, another important aspect is it's your hands.
Mm.
Richard Kotzen was in town 2 nights ago, and I got up and jammed with him, and just grabbed his bass player's bass, which is not the kind of bass I play at all, and the amp was there, and people said, "There's your tone." I go, "It was all I had was these."
Yeah.
So that's good to know, I think.